like it's not a big thing. It just I was a child trying dresses on. I had like those dresses lined up on the bed, and I had I can see a wardrobe. I was in front of a wardrobe and a mirror, and so say a parental figure walks in, and scolds me about that something along the lines, what are you doing there? Trying those on. Just be a good girl and do the work instead. Wow. Yeah, so I remember feeling really hurt by that. Yeah, and that's probably, maybe it happened anything earlier, but that's the earliest memory I have.
Great.
Then I felt anxiety about...
When I say great, it's great that you've identified the memory so clearly.
Yeah.
Yes. So can I make a little observation in terms of something you may not have been aware of, but when you said wardrobe, you sort of gestured over there. I don't know if you noticed your hand just moved. So when you were talking, could you actually see a picture over there of a wardrobe?
Yes, I'm quite visual. Okay.
So let's do a technique based on that kind of principle. So I'm going to invite you to look over there and put that wardrobe back into the picture and just describe over there what you see right now. So
it's quite a slim wardrobe in the corner, and on the other side it's like a 90-degree shape that the mirror is on this side, and I'm in the middle squatting, and my dresses are kind of all over the place there.
Right.
And the door is just behind the mirror, like next.
And are there any people, or who do you see in that picture?
I see myself, and then the parental figure walking in. Yes.
And do you have some recollection of what the parental figure said to that young child back there?
I can clearly see the figure, and saying that actually, saying that, what are you doing there? Be a good girl. Be a good girl, and do some work instead of wasting your time on that. On putting clothes on.
Okay. And do you remember how that young girl felt back there then?
Very sad, actually, and very ashamed. Ashamed.
Sure.
I felt like I was doing something very wrong. It was such a strong reaction. Yeah.
And do you notice because you gesture to your body, so when you see that picture over there, do you have a certain feeling?
It's always in my chest.
In your chest?
Yeah,
great.
Tightness. Yes.
So there's a tightness. So you look at that picture and you feel a tightness in the chest.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
So the NLP process I'd like to guide you through will be just to see, is there a way that we can help that young Anna take some learning from that experience that can also benefit the older Anna today, so that in some senses we can sort of help both Annas, because it sounds like that Anna's got a little bit stuck with this memory, and in some ways so have you. So the first thing, I suppose, when you look at that young Anna back there, just take a look at her face. Does she look like she's suffering or upset?
Originally she's very happy and careless, like.
Okay.
Really.
Lovely. And then
she was very sad.
So here's an unusual question. What belief do you think that young Anna sort of created for herself back then?
Don't show off.
Don't show off. And what would be a consequence of showing off? What would be a negative consequence? So if you showed off, then
I'll be told off. I will be scolded. Excuse me. I'll be scolded.
Okay. But you also mentioned the word shame.
Shamed. Yes.
So if you show off, you would also be
ashamed.
Could I heat it up and say shameful?
Behavior would be shameful. Whatever that show and go behavior is shameful.
And shame is an interesting one, because shame is something you can sometimes take quite tight to heart. So is it possible that that young Anna, after that experience, created a belief, which is if you, I don't know, push yourself forward or present yourself or something like that, then you are somehow an embarrassment, you are less than, there's something bad about you. How would you put it in your own words?
I would say that if you put yourself out, if you show off, put yourself out, then it's a shameful behavior. And I will be ridiculous. I will be ridiculous, that's it.
And what would be, I mean, I could take it a bit further, but if you were ridiculous, what could be the ultimate consequence of that? What would be the negative effect of being ridiculous?
I'll be shamed.
Would you be rejected, possibly? Would people?
Yes, not loved.
Okay.
Unloved.
Unloved. Okay. So this is very powerful, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, here's an obvious question for you. Do you agree that that young girl you did something wrong by showing herself in the mirror? In fact, if I was to use an example, I understand that you're probably familiar with children. Have you've spent some time with children yourself?
Yeah.
So without personalising it, if that was your daughter over there, that young child, would you tell her, don't show off in the mirror? Who do you think it is? Is that a belief you'd like your daughter to hold?
No.
So what do you think, what would be more useful for that child back there to feel, to believe?
Well, as a parent, I would engage with, trying various things, like maybe a couple. If I wanted to distract attention, I would say, let's spend a few time together, like bonding. I would use this as a bonding experience, and then we'll say, let's do some work, some kind of more kinder way, and so child doesn't feel that it's doing, she's doing something wrong with it, kind of.
Sure.
Young kind of.
So let's offer that same wisdom and kindness that you have today back to that child now. So sometimes people like to say it out loud, or they can say it quietly. But now give that child the advice that she, if I can use the word, should have received from a parental figure, but sadly didn't have, that parental figure possibly had their own problems, whatever they may have been. But you certainly have all the resources today. So what would you tell that young child back there then?
I would say, oh my goodness, look at you, what a lovely outfit. That's very creative. How did you think about that? And then, that's great. You look lovely in it. And, by the way, should we do a bit of work later on? What do you think about that? That, you look really great in that outfit, and you could do a bit of reading with that outfit. That's good, isn't it?
It's lovely. And just tell me if you notice anything changing in that picture as you say that to that child.
Yeah, she's smiling, and she's hugging. It's really sweet, yeah.
It's very nice. So is there a last thing you'd like to say to that little child, or you even don't have to use words? You could, as you say, just go into that picture and hug.
Yeah.
So
hug. In
your own way, go ahead. Go
yeah. Can I do it visually rather than...
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to physically walk over there. Okay, sure.
Yeah, it feels good. I feel like a really warm feeling.
Great.
Inside, yes.
So what belief do you think that child now has?
She's loved, that she's worth it, she's creative, and she can play. She can try things. Yeah.
Excellent. So I think now I'm going to just ask you a sort of like a little test. So the idea is that if that child now is smiling and happy, arguably there's some part of you that maybe when you look back at that memory, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's a warm sort of feeling about it.
Well, before it was quite
it's a bit like tightness, it's less so.
Okay.
So that's interesting, isn't it, how things are linked.
Absolutely. So there are a few more steps in this process. Can I just guide you through a few more? So the idea is if that child had that different experience and had a sort of, for want of a better word, this mother figure or parental figure at that time, just as a sort of little substitute at that time, maybe there would be another experience where rather than that belief being reinforced, later on, she would have just passed through it easily. So can you think of maybe another experience where you don't have to go into any great detail, where maybe in childhood after then that feeling of anxiety or shame came up?
Another experience like
Yeah.
that.
So
Yes.
So just apply that same wisdom to that next experience and also transform it in some way and see a slightly older young Anna change. And, I just invite you to spend a little bit of time on your own, just kind of reflecting on a few memories from, back there, maybe even moving all the way forward to trying to do something on social media and just do something similar. Just give yourself a little bit of time to do that. It is your time to take exactly as long as you need.
It's interesting how the feeling is fading,
Great.
So is that how I would apply it if I feel it?
Well, there is a final step, which is, in coaching, sometimes I can change hats. So we're kind of coming towards the end of the NLP. There's one more question for it. But if I can put on my hat as a mentor, one of my own beliefs is that overcoming that fear of shame is really, in some senses, the key that opens up the ability to sell and to market and to build a business. And if you don't have a lot of enthusiasm for that, then it becomes very, very difficult to succeed in business. So to me, this is not just simply a case of, some societies, certain ways, expect certain, behaviors, which are sometimes not very helpful and create beliefs in children which are, kind of, in some senses, upsetting. It's more than that. It opens the door to sometimes really revolutionize, because as you use the word creative, playful, even love, being able to be really passionate about what you're doing and telling people and sharing it to the world, when you can do that, that brings a lot of energy into your business, and it makes the whole process enjoyable. You said last time we met that it was really important for you to find something to do where you would wake up in the morning full of vim and vigour.
Yes.
So, this is really an important piece, that to let go of this also has some benefit. What would you say, and this is a kind of important question, what would you say is the benefit of holding on to a certain amount of modesty? What good thing do you get out of that? And it doesn't have to be rational, just tell me a few things.
Modesty. Well, you don't go berserk with being immodest. I don't know. It's just self-protection in a way, and dignity, maintaining your dignity in a way, isn't it?
Great.
Pride in something that, yeah.
So that's maybe the last sort of piece, because sometimes, although we can sort of also look back at what could be a negative memory, it's also realizing that there was also some positive purpose that parental figure had to provide protection, to also make sure that you retained an element of dignity, and so forth. So here's the question: how could you do this new behavior, this marketing behavior, while still retaining your dignity? How would you be able to do both at the same time, if you like? Maybe you just could.
I'll try.
Yeah.
I try. It's nothing undignified about actually about marketing, is it really? About social media. Other
No.
people do it, and I know lots of people that are very dignified people who are in it and are very good at it. It's just feeling like that I can do it in the same way and successfully without, having this feeling of I'm kind of a bit too pushy or whatever, too out there. That would be great. Yes.
Well, I mean, again, from personal opinion, when people are too pushy, I don't think they're very compelling. And
No.
if I may say, I think that you're a very dignified person. And I think I think in some sense it's the benefit of possibly that thing in the background. Then the past is, I think you've grown into a dignified adult. There's nothing you can do to change that. But I don't think you need to hold on to that memory anymore and for it to limit you. So with that little bit of coaching or mentoring, here's the question. You know, after today, you're going to grab your phone or your computer and do some kind of social media thing. Just talk me through what it might be like to do this tomorrow or next week or whenever.
Well, I've got a plan that, when I go back within my 5 hours a week time and start planning, I've got a special tool how to plan.
I think this is back to an NLP question, so I think
okay.
I might have. The kind of thing I'm going to do is literally ask you whether if you picked up a phone and you started, I don't know, making a post or taking a photo of yourself or whatever it was, does the feeling come back or is it gone? So it's just trying to.
Well, I was about
check
to say that when I start doing it, if the feeling comes back, then I've got a tool to go back into the memory and sort of be kind to myself. That's what I was planning to do.
Okay, well, I wouldn't play along with me because. Okay, so let me give you. This is a final bit of NLP where I'm being more directive.
Okay.
So I'd like you to imagine you're holding a phone right now.
Okay, you want me to imagine it right now?
Yeah, right now. So you're holding a phone right now, and you're about to do a social media post. Just pretend you're doing it.
Okay.
And as you're doing it, you would normally, whatever. I mean, is there a feeling? Is it gone?
It's faded. It's much more. It's faded. That feeling. Yes. Yes.
Great.
It's great. Obviously, I need to test it in when it comes out.
Of course
that
you
would be
do.
great.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's just unbelievable how these things can be linked. It's almost, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Well, thank you. Yes, well, that's the power of NLP, and also I think you took to it very well. You seemed, to find it helpful.